Take it.
Okay, go ahead.
I know your instinct is to get chills watching that national anthem, home of the Chiefs there at Arrowhead Stadium as you welcome into Kingdom Kickoff, but not so fast, because when I was a kid growing up, I always dreamed of waking up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning and watching an NFL game take place in London, England, with God Save Our Queen blasting all over the loudspeakers and on into my soul. Guys, welcome those of you that are watching the London Jaguars that are playing the Buffalo Bills right now here into Kingdom Kickoff. Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger, Shaggy Shane Williams, and the man of the hour, Rich Baldinger. Rich, I know you get really emotional when you see these games taking place in London, England. God Save Our Queen. And we got one coming down to the wire here. But man, Rich, I got to be honest, I don't like international games. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. And we're going to face this in a few weeks when the Chiefs go to Frankfurt, Germany, another dream of mine.
Well, Frankfurt, Germany, I can't argue. As a fan, to have a few of those beers might be pretty good. You know, no matter what happens in the game, German beer always makes the day that much better.
Fair enough. And maybe some Batzel.
I can be persuaded real easy to go over there. A few bratwursts, a few cold. So
covered in sauerkraut. You just love it.
Hey, Rich,
no, you're preparing to go. You're going to try to bring me there, aren't you? God.
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to play over there when we played the Rams over there in the preseason game, and that was always excited to bring Bill Moss with me and do some diplomacy in Germany, in Berlin. So exciting. It's great for the world, folks. Believe me, they love the NFL over there. They do. The fans in Europe, they love the game, but there's nothing like the energy at home and not to be at Arrowhead Drive with the Kansas City Chiefs. You just feel like something's being stolen from you. But for the league, for a former player, it's got to go international. They're doing the best they can. More complicated than basketball, but it's great for the league. But I know for the fans, it's hard. It is hard because nobody loves their team as much as we do here in Kansas City. And it's grown on me more. As a former player, I knew what it was like, but now the level that it's at, the Kansas City Chiefs, and what it means to this town, it's part of the energy. It's college football to me. It's the same passion that you see every Saturday. I mean, who cannot sit down on a Saturday, turn on a TV, and sit for 10 hours and watch college football? All the energy, the players, the kids, what's involved, and that's why I see the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's what I love.
Rich, you went over there, like I was saying or started to say before you brought it up. You went over there. What city did you go to in August of 1990? Was it Frankfurt?
No, it's Berlin. We went to Berlin, Germany.
It was what was it easier? I mean, imagine the mindset is easier because it was preseason compared to regular season. Do you think that creates an annoyance for the guys having to go over there than the regular season rather than the preseason?
Well, the preseason for me, guys, this was it to me. It was something I always wanted to do, and it would be something I'll never forget. Me and Mike Webster, like a long story short, remember this is 1 year after the wall came down.
Right.
And we went over there, and I remember we went to one town, me and Mike Webster, and all the Russian troops were still there.
Wow.
And they were staring at us. I mean, they knew. They were staring bullets through us. And to stand there and watch the wall coming down as a father who was a military man, and that whole thing, understand the energy. Younger generations now will never know what that meant when the wall came down. So it was a trip beyond none to me. The game was a sideshow for me, but we didn't play much in the Rams game. It was great. The people were fantastic, but I love Germany. Germany to me is like the Midwest in the United States. It really is. Conservative values. It's a place that, everything about it, the history and the architecture, everything you want in the lore of Germany. It's so beautiful. But Berlin was a great city. It still is a great city. And as I said, the people in Germany themselves, you don't get nicer people in the world than them. They dress kind of funny. But we'll leave it. For the players, I got to believe, Shaggy, to answer your question, it's got to be tough during the season because you get into such a routine. And the older you get in your career, you don't like to go away from the routine because you know where you need to be for therapy and getting ready. You know how important is a game because no matter what you do in practice, it's how you feel Sunday morning. And you could have the worst week of practice, but if you feel like Michael Jordan on Sunday morning, man, you're going to go play a game. And you know that every week, just take like last week with the Jets. You never know who you're playing against game. Yeah, their team might be terrible, but if you're playing against Williams at defensive tackle, you're in for a long afternoon. So you really don't care about records. So I just think for myself, to being prepared for the game, I didn't want to leave from home. I didn't want to change anything. So preseason was easier, but during the regular season, I don't know if I would like that. I'm not sure if I'd be happy about playing games over there just because the travel and your knees, the achiness of being stuffed on a plane and in a hotel. Not to me. I wouldn't like it, but that's where the future of the NFL is going. So get used to it, I guess, huh?
Right. Absolutely. Rich, you brought up the game against New York. I'm going to bring up some of these penalties. That's what everybody is talking about. We're going to start off here with Jawan Taylor in the safety. Although the face mask started outside the end zone, did we get screwed, Rich?
I think we did. I mean, listen, Jawan, with alignments, probably they're looking at the films and maybe they don't get them on that, but they'll get them on something else. So, but hey, listen, any tackle who plays in the National Football League, it's like a cornerback covering a wide receiver. You're going to have moments that defensive players get the edge. Remember, they're going forward, you're going backwards, and why we didn't help on each of those corners just to chip a little bit, just so because when you're backed up that close, you don't want any problems like that. So tough situation. I don't think it was the best call, but then again, if you're going to rely on the guys in the striped jerseys to win a game for you, no, that's like coming home saying you love the mother-in-law. It ain't going to happen, man.
Well, we also have this horse collar, even though he had the front of the jersey, while Breece Hall has a firm grasp on Derek Notty's face mask, but that wasn't called.
Yeah. This is why the guys in the striped jerseys never gave me Christmas cards. Frustrating, very frustrating. Guys, I also think that the one of the issues why a lot of penalties aren't called or missed is because the game is so sideline to sideline. Yeah. There's so much shifts and movements that you did not have even in my day, that I think officials' eyes are looking everywhere. And we can say sitting at home watching TV, but when you're down on the field and people are running 22, 23 miles an hour, your motor might, get looking for other things you just miss. And I think that's why I think there should be another official on the field. I just think there has to be ways that we can overcome some of these rules. The quarterback's getting bumped in the head and it's a flag. It's just, I think we've gotten really too far on some of these rules where you're asking officials to just cover too much territory.
You know, Rich, okay, go ahead with that graphic, Noah, if you wanted to show it.
Yeah, Brandon Browner had 24 penalties in 2015. That's an NFL record. Jawan Taylor through 4 games already has 10. So we have Patrick Mahomes breaking records, Travis Kelce breaking records, and Jawan Taylor maybe after his very own.
Yeah, nobody likes the penalties, guys. I mean, it's part that he's got to improve his game. I like some of the things that he does. Comes off the football well, run blocks well, gets to the second level well. Most of the time in wide, rushers, he's done a good job. We need to do a little better on stunt pickup when they see certain things in the movement when defensive lines running stunts where you've got to be able to react quicker with your guard. That's got to improve, but I know we will do that. But, it seems like every year when you bring different parts of the puzzle together, you're thinking automatically things will be good. But I think people are finding out that's why you don't a lot of times always win with just thinking you're going to sign everybody. It takes time to put all this together and make it work. And we're seeing we're having some issues with that. So maybe we'll draft a wide receiver for our quarterback.
Uh-oh.
The next Justin Jefferson.
No receivers.
Draft one. We haven't done well at that. So.
Well, specifically to that, Rich, I want to talk about when you came to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1983, and when you were coming into a new era. John Malkovich became the head coach, and the Chiefs on the stat sheet with Bill Kenny, he put up some serious numbers. He went to 4,000 yards passing, and through that 3-year stretch from 83, 84, and 85, we saw the Chiefs wide receivers stats blow up as well. Stephon Page was undrafted in 1983. He broke a record. He had 309 yards receiving in a game in 1985. And the reason I'm bringing up these stats with the wide receivers that Carlos Carson, Henry Marshall, and Stephon Page had was the Chiefs still lost. In 1983, the Chiefs were 6-10, but even though they had those impressive stats, 84, they were 8-8. And in 1985, they were 6-10. But you know what? Those wide receivers had some impressive stats. Bill Kenny threw for 4,000 yards, had some impressive stats, but you weren't winning. And we've had all of us, and this is a respectful debate that we've had with Clint and Noah on the wide receiver situation because the Chiefs aren't impressive in the wide receiver stat room. One of our own, even from Starcade Media, Lance Twidwell, went back and forth with Pete Sweeney on Twitter, as well as Cody Taft from 610. You were in the locker room, Rich, when Stephon Page, Carlos Carson, and Henry Marshall's stats were impressive. What means more, the wins or the stats that these fans make up? Talk to me, Rich. Be honest. Break it down.
Well, no, guys, listen, the bottom line is the bottom line. You're there to win football games. As a former lineman, you never look at any of the stats. You could care less. None of that stuff. I mean, because believe me, when you're losing football games, life becomes miserable. I mean, really miserable. And I went through a lot of those tough times with this organization. And, players say right now stats don't matter. And it's true. It really is, because winning football, it's so hard to win the National Football League. And we never had that many opportunities like they have right now to go to the playoffs, of course, win Super Bowls and everything. So it comes down to one thing is winning the game, whatever you have to do to win that football game, because when you're not winning, you begin to question yourself, you question your coaches, and life is just miserable. It's tough to go there. It's tough to practice. It's tough mentally to get ready. And, when you have that type of situation, it's not fun. Believe me, the stress level rises, and it's just, then you question your coach. You question everything about the organization. And I don't care what job you're in, when the employees are questioning the organization, everything about you, it's not a place you want to be around. The word fun doesn't appear in the lexicon. So it's something we've dealt with in the past. The organization didn't know about it, but Andy Reid has brought that new world to them and is understanding that, hey, it's all about winning football games. It's not always pretty, as we saw last week, but at the bottom line, when you're not winning, you're not going to be around the NFL too long.
Amen.
Well, speaking of winning, Patrick Mahomes, guys, today has the chance to be the fastest player in NFL history to defeat all 31 other NFL teams. Obviously, he hasn't beaten the Chiefs, and hopefully never will have such an opportunity. But a win today against the Minnesota Vikings, Patrick Mahomes would have beaten every NFL team other than the Chiefs in just 7 years. Tom Brady did it in 8 years. So this is a big one here as the Minnesota Vikings are reeling at 1-3. They finally got their first win a week ago. We know what their offense is capable of. This is a defense that has been maligned throughout the course of the season thus far. Shane talked about the receivers. We talked about the offense kind of having some questionable moments so far this season. This, Rich, has a chance for the Chiefs offense to be kind of a get right game, although we know that the Minnesota Vikings are going to be able to challenge the Chiefs up and coming young defense here in this game.
Well, as long as you have a guy by the name of Justin Jefferson just wheeling through a defense like just water going through a stream. I mean, guy just flows unbelievable. His explosion off the stem, his ability to read defenses on the fly. He's everything what Kelsey is, but a lot younger and a lot faster. You know, if there's one thing you got to do is you got to bracket this guy. I mean, you've got to beat the dog crap out of him. Because if you think you're going to give him a cushion to run off the line of scrimmage, even with Kirk Cousins, who's not the best in premier games, if you look at his record, has struggled. And he struggled this year. I mean, last week he threw 2 interceptions in the red zone in the first half. Almost lost the game. It wasn't for the defense getting the picks or the scoop fumble for a touchdown.
Right.
You know, they still wouldn't have a win. So there's a lot of question marks on this team, but you know, that's the number one thing. You've got to just shut down J&J and Justin to Jeff, whatever you want to call him. This guy is such a phenomenal athlete. I couldn't imagine him in a Kansas City Chief offense. I mean, the lightning bolt numbers he would have right now. I mean, he puts Randy Moss to shame. And I know Randy Moss was a great athlete, but this kid, the work effort that he has, and you watch him run, it is simply so impressive on film. And so it'll be a challenge for our secondary today, you know, but Coach Spagnuolo, I think, has done a good job with the blitzes, and that's the one thing I think you can do against Kirk Cousins. Again, any type of pressure on this guy, his eyes go from receivers to the pressure, as we saw last week what happened with the Jets and the fumble, and it proved turning we won the game. The same thing's going to happen with Kirk Cousins, and that's why he throws some interceptions. You know, he's not going to move in the pocket anyways. This guy kind of grows roots real quick. So we keep him there. I think we can get good pressure up front, and I think it can be a long afternoon. I think we can get some turnovers, and we win the turnover battle, which has been a monster for the Vikings so far this year. I think we come away with a victory on the road.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there, the turnovers, and I've got it here. Oops, -8 turnover differential for the Vikings. That's the second worst in the league. They've got 3 takeaways, but you've mentioned the 4 interceptions and 7 fumbles for the Vikings, and then the Chiefs have only a -3 turnover differential. Not great, but not as bad as the Vikings. They've got 5 takeaways, 6 interceptions. 2 of those were from Blaine Gabbert and 2 fumbles. So you mentioned it right there, Rich. The Vikings will give you the ball, and the Chiefs have to keep that trend going if they want to come out of here with a W.
Yeah, and the one thing that Patrick Mahomes gives you guys is, I know last week you looked at the interception, but let's be honest, this guy, Patrick Mahomes, basically in the NFL for 7 years, 6 as a starter, over 3,100 pass attempts, has only had 53 interceptions. That ratio to me tells everything about what Patrick Mahomes is all about. Those numbers are simply off the chart. I mean, it's unheard of. But the other thing that Patrick Mahomes gives you is the scramble at the end of the game. He froze the safety with his eyes. He let the route develop with Kelsey. You could see everyone step towards him. It was triple coverage. And at the moment he saw that and froze that defense, he had an out lane for that scramble, and he wins the football game. Takes the time off clock, it's over with. So, yeah, there might be times where he throws interceptions, but what else he does in terms of movement in the pocket and his scrambling ability to find a lane, simply off the charts. And that's what I think just makes him, he's going to go down to me personally as the greatest quarterback to ever play this game, because whether it's throwing the ball on any different platform, completions, numbers, Super Bowl wins, put it all together, this guy's going down as the best quarterback.
Well said, Rich. You know, I think with Patrick Mahomes winning so many games now on his feet on 2nd and 3rd and long, I think it will open up more in the passing game because opposing defenses won't drop all their cornerbacks in dime coverage way down the field because they now have to respect what Patrick Mahomes does on his feet. So I think that could open up more in the passing game. What do you think?
Why don't we throw the ball deep to Watson? This guy has shown the ability to separate. You know, a colleague of mine, Dana Hughes, was working with us on Sundays, like you said, the whole thing in the NFL is about separation. Either you can separate or you can't. The guys who don't separate don't stay in the NFL. And it's not always about speed. You know, it's about quickness. It's about understanding the way they're playing. It's leverage. It's finding the hole in the zone, man, where you need to go, movement on the field. It's all those different things put together. And Justin Jefferson's doing that on the mental side, and you put his speed together with it. That's what makes him so phenomenal. But Watson, to me, for us, has been the one guy on the deep post that has shown the ability to separate. Why we don't take chances to throw in the ball, because it makes the safeties have to acknowledge it. It makes them stay deeper outside the hashes, which opens up the middle. And you know and I know, if the middle of our field is open, there's a guy by the name of Travis Kelce that, you know what? He'll just tear a defense up. He'll just absolutely tear him up. You can't stop him, can't cover him. So why we don't do it, I don't know. It's frustrating to me. I think this kid has shown the ability to get there. And I don't know if he's the fastest or the best athlete, but he's able to separate. And that's what it's all about in the NFL. If you can't separate, they're just not going to be able to get the ball to you.
Heck yeah.
We got a great comment here from John Harrison, who is talking about Minnesota statistically blitzes more than any team in the NFL, 60% against the Chargers, 81%, and Herbert went 40-47 for 405 touchdowns. Of course, that was sort of a crossroads game just a couple of weeks ago when the Chargers tried to hand the Vikings a win, as the Chargers typically do, but they were able to get out of Minnesota with a win. Blitz, we know the stats, blitzing Patrick Mahomes, although Rich, given the current state of the wide receivers that are still learning and growing in this offense, could you start to see teams taking a little more risk and trying to bring pressure at Patrick Mahomes and just kind of hope that the receivers aren't open, that Mahomes doesn't have anywhere to go with the football, that he doesn't have anywhere to step up and make the throw to? Maybe, and Minnesota's defense is not one I think that's going to be able to have its cake and eat it too, but this could be something to watch. I mean, Mahomes has been so good against the blitz.
Yeah, he is, but there's so many things he can do off the blitz, and one of them is called an RPO. I mean, is there anybody better in the National Football League in the RPO? And in the RPO, run pass option, what a quarterback has to do is be able to reset those feet. You have to reset your feet so you're actually on that quick slant. Nobody does it better than Patrick. So again, that's not something people look at. They're like, what do you mean setting his feet? Well, watch him. I mean, he takes a snap and boom, he goes from a run fake to a pass. His feet are set. His toes pointed, and that's why that ball comes out whistling Dixie right on the money. So that's why against a guy like Patrick, I don't know if you can blitz him. I just don't think his ability to process so quickly. And, you know, for quarterbacks, isn't that what it's all about? You know, people keep telling me arm strength. They tell me accuracy. They tell me movement. I ask one thing, processing. And then to me personally, if I was running the combine, I would have these guys, when they're running around in shorts, I'd have people blitz them, run at them. Okay, let's see if they can make that throw. Can they throw to deep post over a blitz? Can they move a little bit to find a throwing lane? So I think some of the younger quarterbacks can't do it. Patrick has shown the ability, no matter where you bring pressure from, he's able to find that void via Joe Montana, who was the best at it until Patrick Mahomes finds the void in the pocket and hits the throw. And, you know, you just have receivers that tight end, and maybe we're trying to get better at wide receiver, get separation. I think you put that all together, it just makes us such a good offense. It's just tough to blitz. And I know Brian Flores loves to do this. He loves to bring the heat, but you tell me against Patrick, where are you effective in the blitz? I mean, you're going to put him up in the A gap? That ball's going to be out so quick? Or are you going to come delayed and he's just going to roll outside the pocket and throw back across the field? I don't know. It's a tough guy to blitz.
Yeah, and people mention this, Clint just talked about, as a get-right game for the Chiefs in this offense. And we look at the Vikings here on defense, 19th in scoring, 20th in yards. Well, the Chiefs defense is still strong, 6th in scoring, 8th in yards. So if the Chiefs are ever going to figure this out on offense, I think it's coming up here with the Vikings and Broncos, but specifically, I think it needs to start this week. Tough Jets defense last week, but we can get right, get healthy, and get things figured out and get a rhythm here on offense going up against this lackluster Vikings defense.
Well, I thought last week we came out, and believe me, guys, I'm an old school guy, and Smash Mouth to me is the guiding light through life. We came out and the hammer, Thor Pacheco brought it to the Jets defense and hit him square in the counts. And, again, if you break down the film and you watch the way Andy shifts emotions and way he puts people in alignments, he did such a good job of keeping those linebackers a step late. That's why we were able to get the edge on some sweeps, able to get it through on power. There were wide open lanes, and Pacheco's vision is so much better this year. He's a little bit more patient, lets those blocks develop, then he brings the hammer with him. So as long as you can complement that running game, and then you bring this passing game is going to come along, guys. I know at the wide receiver position, we got some training wheels on guys. And I think this is a new NFL rule that Patrick's not allowed to have a number one rated receiver. But
I hate that rule.
Andy's putting this together. And it was nice to me just see come out against the Jets defense and stick it to them on the run game. And you're going to have it, right? You got to have both sides of the offense. And hopefully that passing game catches up with the run game right now. And this offense will be, flying supersonic.
Well, Go ahead, Noah.
I was just going to get to Rich's keys here as we're coming up to noon. It's 11:54 here. So let's go to Rich's keys to victory.
Well, and she said, Paul, again, I just want to find a rhythm with the wide receivers. We've talked about this. Some of the other guys, Sky Moore and everybody, Rashid Rice, it can't have a drop to get the game going. Let's see the yards after the catch. Let's see the start when you're running your routes coming out of your stem. Let's see that wiggle. Let's see that shake. Let's see that ability to just create separation. When the Vikings had the ball, listen, no question about it. You got to take Justin Jefferson out of the game. I don't care about the running game of the Vikings. I know they did some things the last couple of weeks. Madison had some pretty good yards, but I think we can handle that with Chris Jones inside. But Justin Jefferson, this is a guy that just cannot play. I want WWE on the outside on him, and that's the way you got to be. I don't care. Hit him in the mouth on every play. I do not care if they get a few flags on this guy. I want to beat him up because if you don't, the physical ability of this guy, he would make Michael Jordan look funny on a basketball court. That's the way he moves. And of course, team goal, we got to win the turnover battle, guys. We know that. Vikings have struggled from it. You're on the road. You lose the turnover battle. Most likely you're not going to come away with victory as we did against the Jets.
And Shane, I think we're going to start off with you with our predictions. And you got a doozy, I think.
Well, first, what I was going to say before you threw up that stat, and thank you for the keys to the game, Rich. We appreciate you each and every Sunday here. Thank you very much for that. I was just going to say, Jerick McKinnon's coming home. He was a third-round draft pick for the Minnesota Vikings in 2014, so I think he could be a weapon for the Chiefs offense. I think my keys are Trent McDuffie has got to slow down Justin Jefferson. That's going to be huge. Trent McDuffie is having a great second season. He had a good first season, but he was injured and missed a few games. Trent McDuffie is a first-round draft pick. Justin Jefferson's a first-round draft pick. If I'm not mistaken, they were both drafted in the 20s, except, of course, Jefferson was 2 years prior. There's always that October swoon with the Chiefs, except for 2013 and 2018. There's always that game in October. We think, man, I can't believe we lost that game. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be sitting in front of my TV set from 3:25 until the game ends at 6:30, cheering for the Chiefs every single play. But I just feel this is the one game that they don't win. Minnesota's lost 2 home games at the end of the game to Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield and the Chargers and Justin Herbert, where the Vikings should have won those games. They held some leads, and when it came right down to the end, they lost. I think since the Vikings what scares me about this game, and the reason why I'm going with the Vikings in this game is because they are 0-2, their backs against the wall, and the Chiefs have that October swoon. Don't get me wrong. I want the Chiefs really bad, but that's why I think the Vikings will win today, 38-21. What do you think, Clint?
It's hard. I wish you hadn't kicked it to me, Shane, because it's really hard for me to come back from that. I said it before we went live. If the Chiefs and the Chiefs, by the way, as of the Jaguars game, broke an NFL record for consecutive games, either won or lost by 4 points or less. The Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Vikings on the road by 17 points would be one of the most unfathomable things I've ever witnessed. I can't even fathom that taking place. Not to say the Chiefs can't go lose at Minnesota, because you talked about, but the Vikings, it's like their fortune has reversed from a year ago. They were 13-4 last year, winning every close game. It's just the NFL. The line is so thin. But we talked about it. I think this game is all about the Chiefs offense finding a way to exploit the Minnesota Vikings defense. And I think the Chiefs go in there to US Bank Stadium, Commerce Bank Stadium, Bank of the West Stadium. I don't know these stadium names anymore, Rich. It's just another thing about the NFL that's kind of lost me a little bit over the years. I think the Chiefs go in and win this game 30-23.
Yeah, I've got this one. Big Chiefs victory here, 38-27. Wow. They win by 11. Clint's mentioned they didn't really beat the spreads a ton, but they did there against the Bears. But I've got this 38-27 Chiefs because I think this is just all set up for the Chiefs to get healthy, get right. We've talked about the Vikings turnovers, their porous defense. I think that Mahomes and these receivers figure it out. If not, then we could be in trouble as this thing moves on if these receivers still don't go as planned, as everyone thought coming in. No, we've got so much depth. We have so many talented receivers. Do we? As of right now, I don't think we do. And Shane, it's not about the stats. It's not, I want stats over wins. It's about things are really, really hard for the Chiefs. I know they were the number one offense last year, but in the passing game with the receivers in situational football, when they had to have it, it was really hard.
Which is why you went to overtime with the Texans, which is why you had played Denver close twice. And that's the NFL, though.
Exactly. And then you get to the AFC Championship game and it's hard. It's just, and now it's even harder this year without a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't want it to be that hard on Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you do, Shane, but I don't. So that's why I want some better receivers here. So it's not so hard on him. Yes, we're still winning. If you can guarantee me that just because we did it last year, we'll do it again this year and everything's hunky-dory, we win a Super Bowl, great. But I'm looking at reasons why maybe we won't win a Super Bowl, and maybe the luck we had last year and getting through the mess that it was at receiver, we don't this year, and it's really hard. I don't want it to be. I want better receivers, so it is easier on Patrick Mahomes in this offense. But I got the Chiefs winning 38-27. What say you, Rich?
Okay, we're good.
See where we're
victory
going through,
on the road. Smells like victory, you know?
Let's do it. I want the Chiefs to win so bad. I don't like thinking about that October swoon that we've gone through for 9 of the 11.
We had it September 7th.
Yeah. There you go. Well, thanks a lot, Rich, for joining us, man. We always appreciate.
What's your prediction, Rich? We got to get your prediction before we get out of here.
What a mess.
Well, Kirk Cousins in primetime games, guys, you just go through his career. It's been a disaster. The guy will find a way to implode. I think they've got some issues up front. I don't think they have any answer for Chris Jones. Both those tackles to me are very suspect. So I think Chris Jones has a big game. I think we'll take care of Hunter on the edge. We'll chip all day. So wherever he goes, left or right, we'll be able to take care of that. And again, the way we came out and ran the football last week, I think you put that together. This passing game will come along. I look away for the Kansas City Chiefs going away with a great victory. And believe me, folks, this is not the Minnesota Vikings when I was a young kid and sold hot dogs at their game.
True.
There's no Alan Page up there. There's no Carl Eller there. There's no Mick Tinglehoff there in the middle of this line. So I look for the Kansas City Chiefs to go on the road here. And I think that the Vikings offense, they're just having problems. Wes Phillips has not been able to figure this out as the offensive coordinator. I look for the Chiefs with a big win. I'm going to look at a 28-7 victory. And I don't even think it's going to be that close. I think the Chiefs dominate on this. And the Vikings are still struggling with these turnovers. And as long as Kirk Cousins is there, you keep him in the pocket, he's going to be like Baldy. He's going to hand you candy bars every night.
Hey, as Gold Flame says, he is a nice guy. Kirk Cousins is a nice guy. The Chiefs, by way of the Buffalo Bills, who just lost, by the way, in London to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they go to 3-2. The Chiefs and Dolphins could find themselves tied today at the end of today at 4-1 as the Dolphins will tangle with the mighty Giants of New York. Chiefs 1-3 opponent here against the Minnesota Vikings, but I think a much better team than the New York Giants. But we'll see how things go. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Kingdom Kickoff. Enjoy the noon games, and we're ready to roll for 325. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Go Chiefs.